Welcome to Business Connection. I'm Liz Spencer. We've a very interesting gentleman in the studio today. It's Shawn Collins, and you're from your own law firm, Collins Law Firm. You are very different from the lawyers I usually talk to here in the studio. Most are talking to me about personal trust or something like that, and you do something very different. Tell me about it.
We take really tough cases. We're trial lawyers. So on behalf of our clients, we go to court and we fight for their rights. So people come to us by definition because something awful has happened. Oftentimes their environment has been polluted, that the air they breathe, the water that their kids drink. Something bad has happened to their children. Maybe they've been arrested on what they feel are false charges. They feel they've been fired without justification. So something really, really terrible has happened. They come to us and they say, will you take my case? Do I have a case? And so first thing we do is we listen to their story very respectfully and thoroughly to try to see, is there some way that we can make the law work to try to help them here? And sometimes there's not, but then sometimes there is. We like to feel, in fact, we pride ourselves on the fact that we take cases a lot of other lawyers won't, because the cases are so tough, they're so unusual, they're so risky. We're up against some very, very powerful forces, say a very large company like an industrial polluter, or someone in government, for example, and we've got this tiny little human being, seemingly, or a little family, and they feel violated and or threatened or really endangered. And is there something we can do to jump in on their side and to help them sort of balance the playing field off and try to get justice for them? That's the central question, and not easy, and often not even possible, but that's the question.
How did you find yourself doing this? I mean, it would certainly be probably a little bit easier if you did do personal trusts or real estate or something like that.
Well, to me, I feel useful this way. It really started out, and not to get too maudlin about it, but it really starts out at the family dinner table growing up. I grew up in Lisle, mom and dad, 7 kids. We used to talk about right and wrong all the time. We were a family that talked about forces in our lives that we felt were mistreating us. And so I think that bred in me a sense of people, little people, so to speak, the people who are not powerful in this world need somebody to tell their story, to fight for them. And so with that feeling then, I get into the practice of law, and it took me a few years to really find something that felt right. But it was really with environmental law and representing families whose water had been polluted in the village of Lisle, where I grew up. And this was about 13 years ago, where I just really started to feel useful as a lawyer, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm helping the people that I want to help.
Do you think that more people are thinking, gee, I've been wrongfully let go, I've had something happen to me, and they are now seeking out an attorney more so than we used to?
Yeah. I do think that people feel more empowered, and I credit technology with that, the internet. People have more access to information, and that's an empowerment all its own. So I do feel that's true. But the law hasn't changed that much, where it's not that much more protective of the little people, the average person, the average family, the middle-class family trying to get by. In fact, in some ways, the law has gone in the other direction to be less protective of them. All right? And so our job as lawyers at our firm is, when people come to us and they have a problem, is to help them see if the law is available, or whether the law can be changed. And sometimes we've done that too, is where even though the law as it reads on the books today may not seem that favorable for protecting a family whose rights have been violated, but can we change it? Can we use this case as a precedent-setting case to try to reshape the law to make it better for families like this in the future?
And Shawn, you did that. That was very impressive. Tell me, you helped create a law called Paul's Law.
A couple of years ago, I got a very sad phone call from a friend. Her name is Kathy Slovic, and I've known Kathy for years. Her brother was murdered at a home for the developmentally disabled in Charleston, Illinois, down near Eastern Illinois University. Sure. And the really sad reality is that Paul McCann had been murdered by the people who were charged with caring for him. at a state-run home, state-run, state-monitored, state-funded. The state was supposed to be monitoring everything that was going on there. And what we learned was, in the files of the state, was record after record after record after record documenting what a dangerous place this was for residents like Paul, how many residents had been abused and neglected by some of the highest ranking people in the organization. All of these files were there, but the people at the state that were supposed to read them and act on them didn't even know they existed. Right? And so what happened was, as a result of this brave family, Kathy Slovic, and this is the sister of Paul McCann, and her mom, Lois McCann, these two brave women, with a little help from us, reshaped the law in the state of Illinois. And there's a new law on the books now called Paul's Law, which requires much more protection for people like Paul McCann, who are developmentally disabled and at state-run homes, and requires the state to furnish much more accurate and complete information to families who are thinking about whether or not to put a loved one in a certain institution or home in the state of Illinois. So it's not perfect. We've still got a very difficult situation, but it's better here because this family was so brave and so courageous and decided to make something of this terrible tragedy, and we were fortunate enough to be the ones that they called for help in doing that.
That's very interesting. And Shawn, you said something very brave, courageous, and trying to make a difference. It seems that that's a lot what your law firm is doing.
Well, I feel like we're there to help people who want to do it. We're just the lawyers. I mean, at the end of the day, if the case goes well or goes poorly, we get to go home at night to our families. It's the families that we represent, the individuals that we represent who have something truly profound at stake. They've lost a loved one, or they've been terribly mistreated, or they may go to jail for, in one case, just expressing their First Amendment rights. They were opposed to a war. And so these are the real brave people on the front lines, but they don't know how to navigate the legal system, you know, and that's where we come in, and that's where we can be helpful. And these are some of the most fascinating human beings I've ever met. And it's funny how if you looked at them in most parts of their life, they would look to you and I relatively ordinary, like maybe nothing terribly special is going on. And then this extraordinary event falls out of the sky into their laps and calls on them to be someone special. And they answer the call. And it's wonderful to be involved in their lives at that particular moment and to be able to help and to experience the reshaping of the system because they were in it.
Shawn, I can't thank you enough for stopping by. Yeah. That's a wonderful place to end it. Yeah. We wish you a lot of luck. We thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you for what you do too. I appreciate it.
We're going to be right back with more Business Connections. Stay tuned.